Boosie going to jail! A lot of things this case has stopped me from doing, traveling all across the world, making. So I just want to get it over with and, accept my guilty plea. I'm ready to get over with.
Anything you want to say to your fans?
Just say a prayer for me. I just need prayer. I don't need nothing else.
Well, Charleston White was celebrating you taking the plea deal. I think he even said he hopes you die in jail and stuff like that.
Yeah, I heard.
The biggest thing right now was that you actually accepted a plea deal for your federal gun case.
Yeah.
Now, how long have you been fighting this thing from the very, very beginning?
I've been fighting for probably 3 years now, probably.
3 years.
Boosie Badass might be staring down a brutal 10-year sentence in his federal gun case. And the minute that news hit, Charleston White couldn't wait to clown him. The second the case popped up on the blogs, Charleston hopped on live acting like it was his birthday and Christmas rolled into one. He was laughing loud, saying he always knew Boosie would end up behind bars, even bragging that he'd been waiting for this exact moment to celebrate. Then he took it up a notch, saying straight up that he wouldn't care if Boosie never walked free again. But here's the wild twist. Earlier this month, Boosie himself told fans that he had accepted a plea deal because he was exhausted from fighting this battle. He said it felt like the smartest move, even though the case had already been dismissed once before. Still, prosecutors came back swinging in 2024, indicting him again, and now he could be looking at more than 10 years locked up. While Boosie's been posting emotional messages about trusting God and admitting he's drained, Charleston White is out here popping champagne like it's his own victory party. He's grinning ear to ear, making it clear he's ready to celebrate Boosie's downfall like it's a holiday. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, Boosie's legal battles have been dragging on for years, but this gun charge is the one that's really tightening the noose. He got hit for being a felon caught with a firearm, and that's one of the hardest charges to beat in the system.
Oh, where the feds picked it up.
Now, it was a state case. The feds came, picked it up. They had a ruling in the Supreme Court that went in my favor, and the case got dropped by the judge. The case got dropped.
At first, things looked like they were finally turning around. In 2023, the case got dismissed and fans were hyped, thinking Boosie could finally get back to focusing on music and family life. But the celebration didn't last long. The feds came back in 2024, re-indicted him on the exact same charge, basically saying, nice try, but we're not done with you yet. That's when Boosie finally broke down and took the plea. He even went on X, admitting, I thought this case was over and I was gonna get on with my life. But God don't make mistakes and I'm tired of fighting. This wasn't just another setback. This was the moment everything Boosie had been running from finally caught up with him. When the news dropped, fans rushed to flood his mentions with love and support, but you could feel the weight on him. Boosie didn't look or sound like the same man who used to troll nonstop online or clap back at every single critic. This time, he sounded drained. His post carried a mix of faith and surrender, like he was bracing himself for whatever was coming next. People who followed Boosie since his Baton Rouge come up know he's been dodging danger forever, surviving cases, surviving beefs, even surviving health scares. He always found a way to bounce back, until now. Because this time, the stakes are brutal. 10 years isn't just a slap on the wrist, it's life-changing. And you could see that reality weighing heavy in every word he typed. But while Boosie's fans were sending prayers, Charleston White was doing the exact opposite. He jumped on live with a grin plastered across his face, bragging that he called this from the very start. Charleston made it crystal clear he never once believed Boosie would beat this case. And now that a decade-long sentence is looming, he's rubbing it in like it's his personal championship parade.
Oh, God is good. I keep telling y'all, street got no God. God do not look out for street. Boosie really thought he wasn't going to jail for that pistol. I knew he was going. I just was waiting.
And Charleston didn't just stop at clowning. He went as far as to say he hopes Boosie dies in jail. That's shocking, even for him. But then again, this is the same man who's built his whole career off being the loudest, most outrageous troll in hip-hop culture. The timing made it sting even worse, because Boosie hadn't even had a chance to process the weight of his sentencing before Charleston turned it into a live comedy roast, cracking jokes like he was headlining a stand-up show. Now, Charleston trolling isn't new to anyone. He's clowned rappers like Soulja Boy, T.I., King Von, and countless others. But with Boosie, it feels way too personal. Every single time Boosie runs into legal trouble, Charleston pops up instantly, almost like he's sitting by the phone waiting for bad news to break. That's why so many fans are asking the question, why does Charleston White hate Boosie this much? Because this doesn't look like random trolling. this looks like a feud that's been simmering for years. It all traces back to late 2022 when Kanye West had the world divided with his White Lives Matter shirt. Boosie clapped back at Ye, saying he was disrespecting black people. And honestly, a lot of folks agreed with him at the time. But Charleston, nah, he wasn't having it. He jumped online immediately, blasting Boosie for even daring to speak on Kanye. And from that moment, the back and forth between Boosie and Charleston never let up. And then things went completely left. Instead of just clapping back at Boosie, Charleston decided to cross the line and drag Boosie's teenage son, Tootie Raw, into the drama. He even threw shots at T.Y.'s son, King Harris. Charleston called them ugly, claimed they couldn't fight, and even predicted they'd end up in jail.
He brought you up because you were attacking Kanye because of the...
Nah, this Kanye West shit just happened. Nigga been coming at me. He been coming at me. It's just, you know, I can't respond to those people, bro. Like, that's a danger to what I got going on. You can't take no risk of losing this shit behind, you know.
That's when fans realized Charleston wasn't just your everyday internet troll. He was willing to go lower than anyone expected, targeting kids just to get under their parents' skin. That's when people realized Charleston wasn't just another internet troll. He was willing to cross the line and go way below the belt, targeting kids just to hurt their famous parents. The whole internet was shook because that's a different kind of petty. But what caught everyone off guard was how calm Boosie stayed through it all. Instead of snapping back the way people expected, he kept it cool and played it safe. In an interview with Tony the Closer, Boosie explained why. He made it clear that running his mouth too much could easily land him behind bars, especially once somebody starts dragging kids into the drama. Boosie knew that one wrong move could cost him everything.
I ain't really got no opinion on him because, you know, my opinion can send me to prison. So I ain't really, you know, I ain't really got no opinion on him. You know, once you go to threaten people's kids, talking about you out of line. So, you know, I ain't the one gonna do all that. I ain't gonna do all that. You know what I'm saying? It's just, hey, you know, certain people you can't really express opinions on, and he one of those. You can't express how you feel because you might end up in prison. And I ain't getting tricked off the streets.
So instead of going off like people expected, Boosie kept his cool and held back with a measured response. In that interview, he explained exactly why he refused to wild out, and that one line said it all. Boosie wasn't scared of Charleston, not one bit, but he knew Charleston was the type to bait him into saying something reckless that could land him right back in jail. So instead of firing shots, Boosie played it smart and stayed calm, at least on the surface. But by early 2023, the tension had already hit a breaking point. This beef jumped to a whole new level. Charleston was already trolling T.I. over his so-called paperwork party when Boosie's son Tootie decided he wasn't gonna stay quiet. Tootie clapped back hard, calling Charleston old, messy, and even told him to go die. And Charleston, being Charleston, he took it way further. He went live and said, I hope your daddy died from that diabetes. I hope they don't send the insulin over there 1 month. Like, seriously, who even says something that dark just to win an argument? He basically wished death on Boosie just to cut deep at Tootie. And then things got crazier. Later that same month, Tootie actually got arrested on gun charges, and Charleston popped out instantly, bragging and claiming credit like he somehow made it happen. Charleston White actually bragged about calling the police, sending in pictures, and tipping off the Department of Public Safety. He even went as far as claiming the cops were already keeping tabs on Tootie because Boosie was, in his words, a 6-time convicted murderer who used children to kill people. That right there was the breaking point. This beef officially jumped from online trolling to causing real-life damage, and it didn't take long for things to spiral even further. Not even 3 months later, Boosie himself got arrested again in San Diego right after a court hearing. And Charleston couldn't wait to clown him. He hopped on Instagram Live immediately, laughing and saying this was all part of God's plan. He even compared Boosie to Daniel in the lion's den, like prison was some divine test that God chose him to endure.
You done got too much. You done let these niggas play you too mother. This internet book dumb and it. Say what little Tootie gonna do now? What little to say? Listen, Vlad TV. Vlad post everybody going to jail but Boosie. Somebody tag Vlad TV.
Charleston twisted Boosie's arrest into a full-blown sermon, painting his downfall as if it was holy punishment instead of just another run-in with the law. Fans couldn't even tell if Charleston was serious or just trolling. But either way, the disrespect was off the charts. Months later, Boosie finally broke his silence on Vlad TV. He admitted he never wanted Vlad to give Charleston a platform in the first place because of all the things Charleston had said about Tootie. And once again, Boosie made it clear he wasn't scared at all. He was just focused on staying free. As he put it himself, one wrong move could land him right back in the system, but even though Boosie played it cool, it was obvious Charleston was living rent-free in his head. Then came early 2024, and the beef spilled even deeper into internet culture. Aiden Ross was supposed to host Boosie on his stream, but Boosie backed out because he didn't want to deal with Charleston's drama. Next thing you know, Aiden flipped the script, claiming he turned Boosie down out of loyalty to Charleston White. That lie spread like wildfire online until DJ Vlad stepped in and dragged Aiden for siding with Charleston, a guy who had literally praised Hitler and even denied the Holocaust. That whole fiasco showed just how far Charleston's shadow really stretched. Even young streamers were using his name as clout currency. But even after all that noise, Charleston wasn't slowing down one bit. By March, he was back online claiming Boosie had allegedly told promoters not to book him. And of course, he flipped it into another wild rant, bragging that he'd already reached out to the feds and was ready to get Boosie locked up over what he called threats. And Charleston didn't stop there. He even dragged Boosie's health into the mix just to make the insult sting even harder. He went live swearing up and down that he'd get Boosie jammed up through the FBI, like he was proud to play the role of snitch. Once again, Charleston had no proof, but that didn't matter to him. He said it loud enough and it stuck.
I'm gonna put your in jail, nigga. I'm waiting for the FBI to send me the right kind of number, because I'm finna make a report on your mother people. And you make the man call your name specifically. The promoter specifically said your mother name, Lil Boosie. He implemented you and implicated you. For to go to jail, back to jail. You gonna be on your knees, but them knees gonna be bleeding again.
Even Boosie himself admitted he's been getting calls from guys already behind bars, asking him straight up, when you coming to join us? That's how deep Charleston's trolling has cut into Boosie's world. Imagine being Boosie, already carrying the weight of a looming federal sentence, and then hearing dudes on the inside clowning you before you even set foot in the yard. That's pure insult on top of injury. And Charleston knows exactly what he's doing when he stirs that pot.
I feel, I trust in God, man. This crazy.
And here's another angle people keep whispering about. Boosie didn't even want to risk going to trial. He went straight for the plea deal. And honestly, can you blame him? Just picture the chaos if by some wild chance, Charleston White managed to show up in that courtroom. You already know he would have turned it into a circus act, testifying, pointing fingers, and running straight to the blogs the second he stepped outside. And don't think that's far-fetched either, because Charleston has a history of snitching and he's never been shy about owning it. According to reports, when Charleston was just 14, he got caught up in a robbery with a group of other teens. During that robbery, one of them, Antoine Doolittle, shot and killed a man named Michael Levy. That incident became the foundation of Charleston's "I'll snitch on anybody" persona that he brags about to this day. When it came time for court, Charleston took the stand and testified against him. And in street culture, that's the ultimate sin. Even though he was just a kid back then, people never let it go. To this day, they drag him for turning on someone from his own crew, but Charleston doesn't hide from it. He doubles down. He's defended himself over and over saying, "I was young, I was in court, I told the truth." That's not snitching, that's survival.
Not a street kid. I'm not a criminal. I'm a kid who was raised to tell the truth. When my mama come in and say, "Son, what happened?" "Mama, I didn't do that." I got to pay for a lawyer. I got two lawyers, Carl Mallory and Louis Stearns. Louis Stearns became Judge Stearns, Judge Louis Stearns. But nigga, I had two paid for lawyers. My mama is a well-to-do mama. I'm just playing, I ain't playing. I'm an adolescent going through an adolescent stage of rebelliousness. I ain't no street. Hell yeah, I'm gonna tell on you. I've been telling since I was a little bitty boy.
That's his go-to justification for why he cooperated, and he repeats it proudly like it's his badge of honor. But here's the twist. Recently, footage from that old juvenile case resurfaced online.
He pulled off the hammer back on the gun.
And the internet lit up all over again. People flooded the comments calling him a hypocrite, saying, "You can't preach street code one day and then brag about testifying the next." And now, that old clip is circulating non-stop. The exact clip everyone's using to drag Charleston White and call his whole street image fake. Charleston didn't just brush off the criticism, he doubled down, saying he's never lived by any street code and doesn't care who's mad about it. The crazy part? He'll still call out other rappers as rats while proudly admitting he snitched himself. That contradiction is exactly why the internet stays dragging him. And when you stack all that up, it makes sense why people are side-eyeing Boosie's choice to skip trial and lock in that plea deal. The last thing he probably wanted was to risk a courtroom where Charleston White could somehow pop up and steal the spotlight. This is the same man who openly brags about calling the cops, setting people up, and admitting he testified back when he was a teenager. If Charleston even had the slightest chance of being involved, you already know he would have turned that courtroom into his own stage show. Just picture him pointing fingers, cracking jokes at the jury, and then hopping on live right after the brag, "I helped put Boosie away." That's not exaggeration, that's exactly how Charleston White moves. That's exactly why Charleston White is celebrating so loud right now. To him, this isn't just Boosie getting caught up in another gun case. This is karma coming full circle. In Charleston's mind, it's proof that everything he's been shouting for years, all the trolling, all the mocking, is finally hitting home for the world to see. And if you look back at the timeline, it really does feel like Charleston has been waiting on this moment. The beef kicked off back in late 2022 when Boosie clashed with him over Kanye West's White Lives Matter stunt. From there, Charleston made it his mission to drag Boosie at every turn, going after his son Tootie Raw, disrespecting T.I.'s son King Harris, and wishing death on Boosie himself. By 2023, he was openly bragging about calling the police on Boosie's family, claiming he had the feds on speed dial, and turning every arrest into a sermon on Instagram Live. Now, fast forward to today, and Boosie is stuck in one of the toughest positions of his career. He already admitted on X that he took the plea deal because he was exhausted from fighting, even after the case had been dismissed once before. But this time, the feds came back harder, and with his record, he could realistically be looking at a decade behind bars. Meanwhile, Charleston is clowning like he's already won the war, dancing online, calling it God's plan, and mocking Boosie before the judge has even finalized the sentence. And that's what makes this even crazier. If Charleston is this loud while Boosie is still technically free, just imagine the circus he'll create if Boosie actually gets sentenced. So what do you think? Is this Charleston finally getting his "I told you so" moment, or is he just poking the fire for clout? Make sure you like, subscribe, share, and drop your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one.